مقاطع فيديو الجديدة عندنا آي راديو. أين تقوم في جنوب السودان.
Sounds of the week on iRadio. The only way to bring peace and stability in South Sudan is dialogue, and respecting the realities and ensuring that as we respect the realities, we care about the future of generations to come. We are not the only South Sudanese, and South Sudan will never end with us. There are South Sudanese in front of us that we need to prepare for them the future. Change of attitudes among South Sudanese in the political party is very important. The language of confrontation. I'm appealing to the opposition, I'm appealing to the government, and specifically SPLM-IO and SPLM-IG, that the language of confrontation is causing panic in the town. My appeal to South Sudanese in South Sudan and outside South Sudan who tend to use hostile propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, and fake news in whatever platform of the media for championing whatever purpose they want, I would like to ask them, abstain from that.
Sounds of the week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio 1 o'clock news. First, here are the headlines. The SPLM-IO has suspended 4 senior members of its political bureau and liberation councils over an alleged plot to replace Dr. Riek Machar as first vice president and chairman of the party. A civil society activist is calling on the National Transitional Committee to initiate a dialogue among the parties to the revitalized peace agreement to diffuse and de-escalate the tension in the country. And the United States says it will reconsider revoking the cancellation of visas to South Sudanese citizens only when Juba fully cooperates and accepts the return of its deported nationals. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Baria Johnson, and now the news in detail. The SPLM-IO has suspended 4 senior members of its political bureau and liberation councils over an alleged plot to replace Dr. Riek Machar as first vice president and chairman of the party. In an interview with iRadio, Oyet Nathaniel, the acting chairperson of the SPLM-SPLIO and first deputy speaker of the Transitional National Legislative Assembly, confirmed that those suspended include Stephen Parkol, the Minister of Peace Building, and Agok Makur, the former deputy finance minister. He stated that the suspensions were issued for what the party described as a violation of party rules and regulations. The suspensions, which were confirmed in an order issued this morning by Oyet, explained that the decision followed recommendations from the ad hoc disciplinary committee and was in accordance with sections 16.3 and 16.4 of the party's codes of conduct. He emphasized that the violations involved actions considered serious offenses under the party's guiding principles. According to the suspension letter, Stephen Parkol was suspended from his roles as a member of the Political Bureau, National Liberation Council, and SPLM-IO representative to RJMEG. He was also removed from his position as the National Minister of Peace Building. Agok Makur, the former deputy Minister of Finance, faced similar suspensions, including removal from the Political Bureau, National Liberation Council, and his position as a national member of Parliament. Also, Honorable Ding Lam and Honorable Luke Thompson were suspended from the National Liberation Council and from the party itself. Despite the suspensions, Oyet confirmed that the suspended members will be required to appear before a disciplinary committee which will be formed according to SPLM-IO's basic documents. Oyet Nathaniel spoke to iRadio this morning.
As a party, as a political organization, we have guiding principles. We have our basic documents, code of conduct, manifesto, the constitution, rules and regulations. These documents enshrine sets of principles that guide the party. When we had the crisis of violations and abrogation of the revitalized agreement, we have been following developments in the country and also with our counterpart, the SPLMIG, supported by the security apparatus, the SSPDF, the National Security Services, and other intelligence services. They, of course, want to consummate the abrogation of the agreement by creating disunity within the SPLM, SPLA-IO. You have seen them orchestrating and incentivizing defections of members of the SPLM, SPLA-IO.
Oyet added that the other reason is that the four suspended SPLM-IO senior members are working to replace the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar.
This group who have been suspended have been recruited by the SPLMIG and the security apparatus so that they can orchestrate the replacement of His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar, who is the first Vice President, who is also the Chairman and the Commander-in-Chief of the SPLM, SPLA-IO. Their move, we have been following it, and it is now in the advanced stage. And don't be surprised if you hear any declaration sooner or later.
In response, the Minister of Peace Building and senior member of the SPLM-IO, Stephen Parkour, terms their suspension from the party as joke of the year. Speaking to iRadio's newsroom this morning, Minister Stephen Parr said they will respond to the matter via social media.
Actually, we call it a joke of the year. We see it as a joke, but we will respond to that joke formally. We will send it. It will go to the media the same way. It will circulate in some hours.
A civil society activist is calling on the National Transitional Committee to initiate a dialogue among the parties to the revitalized peace agreement to diffuse and de-escalate the tension in the country. Edmund Yakani, the Executive Director of Community Empowerment for Progress organization, says this could lead to a homegrown solution to the current crisis in South Sudan. He said the NTC, which is a national domestic structure, should call on parties and stakeholders to discuss how to overcome the current situation in the country. Yakani also went on to call on South Sudanese on social media to abstain from spreading hate speech and fake news. He spoke on iRadio's Dawn Show this morning.
National Transitional Committee have a primary responsibility to initiate a dialogue among the parties and should be an inclusive dialogue. For us as a civil society, we as let religious leaders drive the process of the dialogue, because we can't resolve these differences through confrontation. The only way to bring peace and stability in South Sudan is dialogue, and respecting the realities and ensuring that as we respect the realities, we care about the future of generations to come. We are not the only South Sudanese, and South Sudan will never end with us. There are South Sudanese in front of us that we need to prepare for them the future. Change of attitudes among South Sudanese in the political party is very important. The language of confrontation. I'm appealing to the opposition, I'm appealing to the government, and specifically SPLM-IO and SPLM-IG, that the language of confrontation is causing panic in the town. My appeal to South Sudanese in South Sudan and outside South Sudan who tend to use hostile propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, and fake news in whatever platform of the media for championing whatever purpose they want, I would like to ask them, abstain from that.
In recent days, the political tension in South Sudan saw the arrival of Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Kenyan envoy Raila Odinga, and the African Union panel of the wise to mediate dialogue among the parties. The outcome of the meetings in Juba are unclear. The United States says it will reconsider revoking the cancellation of visas to South Sudanese citizens only when Juba fully cooperates and accepts the return of its deported nationals. At the weekend, the Trump administration revoked all visas for South Sudanese citizens and halted the entry of new arrivals, citing the country's failure to accept the return of deported nationals. In a statement shared with iRadio over the weekend, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the decision on Saturday, accusing Juba of failing to cooperate with the U.S. in repatriating its citizens. This action marks the first time the U.S. has targeted an entire country's passport holders since President Donald Trump resumed office in January 2025, having campaigned on a platform emphasizing stricter immigration policies. Rubio criticized South Sudan's transitional government, stating every nation must accept the return of its citizens promptly when another country seeks to remove them. He added that Washington will reconsider the visa revocation when South Sudan fully cooperates on the matter. Under the previous administration of President Joe Biden, South Sudanese nationals in the U.S. were granted temporary protected status, which protects them from deportation due to the unsafe conditions in their home country. However, this status is set to expire on May 3rd, 2025. When contacted, South Sudan Foreign Ministry said it is yet to release a statement in response to the visa ban on South Sudanese citizens. The temporary protected status is granted to individuals who are unable to return to their home country safely due to conflict, natural disasters, and other extraordinary circumstances. According to the Department of Homeland Security, as of September 2023, approximately 133 South Sudanese nationals were living in the U.S. under the TPS program, with another 140 eligible to apply. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. The Ministry of Information, Communication, Technology and Postal Services has commenced procurement of equipment for installation of South Sudan first ever fiber optics. Telecommunication Undersecretary Laduani Kenyi revealed this on Friday at the conclusion of Artificial Intelligence Summit in the Rwandan capital, Kigali. Wani said the government has already made progress in hiring 3 companies that will do feasibility studies, commercial transaction model, and then monitoring and evaluation. He said the government is now waiting for no objection from the World Bank to start negotiating with the first-ranked companies from the 3. Once the negotiation is done properly, the country, according to the Undersecretary, will by August or September put out a tender for the first-ranked company to lay down fiber optic infrastructure. And finally, the National Ministry of Health has inaugurated a new public health emergency operations center in Wau, Western Bahar Ghazal State, to improve regional coordination and preparedness for public health emergencies. The new health center, launched on April 3rd, was established with support from the World Health Organization and the U.S. Agency for International Development, according to the ministry's statement. Dr. Anil Ngot and the Secretary of the National Ministry of Health said the health unit is aimed to protect communities from health threats and enable responses to outbreaks and disasters. Dr. Kidende Chong, Director General of Preventive Health Services and Emergencies Response, emphasized the importance of collaboration among stakeholders for the center's success. South Sudan is facing a worsening cholera outbreak, which started in October 2024 and has since resulted in over 40,000 confirmed cases and nearly 800 related deaths. The country has also declared an mpox outbreak with 7 confirmed cases and no deaths so far. You are listening to iRadio News, and now to the regional and international news with my colleague Walma Pal.
Good afternoon to you, Baria Johnson, and taking you through regional and international stories. Let's begin in Democratic Republic of Congo, where around 30 people have died in flooding at the capital Kinshasa, the provincial health minister said on Sunday. This comes as torrential rains of the weekend destroyed homes and roads. Patrician Congo Abakasi told Reuters that the death toll is provincial and accounts for around 30 people. The Ndingi River, which runs through part of the city of around 17 million, overflowed its banks on Friday night, blocking the main national road and leaving drivers stranded since Saturday evening. Elsewhere, the British woman who allegedly dumped her son and left him in debt to fund her campaign sipping lifestyle has been charged with fraud in Singapore. Alleged victims of Dione Maria Hannah, 82, filed police reports after watching Conmam, local media report. They accused the Singapore resident of taking their money with the promise that they would be reimbursed through her inheritance from Brunei's royal family. The ploy is similar to the one she allegedly used against London pastry chef Graham Hodigal after she contacted him in 2020, claiming to be his long-lost mother. And finally, Australia's opposition leader has ditched an election promise to end work-from-home options for public servants after a backlash. Peter Dutton on Monday said his Liberal National Coalition had made a mistake and apologized. Australians will vote in an election on May 3rd, and the coalition had picked the policy as part of a package also including thousands of job cuts aimed at improving efficiency in the public sector. Critics, including the incumbent Labour government, had said an end to work-from-home arrangements would undoubtedly disadvantage women. That's all from the regional international stories. Back to you, Baria Jensen.
Thanks, Walmapal. And now to the sports news with Nyadang William.
The South Sudan Football Association has launched the third edition of the South Sudan Women's National League, using a football as a platform to empower girls and combat gender-based violence in the country. The tournament kicked off yesterday at Juba National Stadium, where reigning champions Yei Joint Stars defeated Simba FC with a 3-1 victory in the opening match. A total of 12 teams are participating in this year's edition, up from 10 in previous years. Teams featured in the competition include Yei Joint Stars, Simba FC, Moniki El Marikh Juba, Malikia El Rabita, Wajuma Awil. The other teams are Atlabara, El Marikh Bentiu, St. Peter Bentiu, City Qatar, and Awil United. And again at Juba Stadium yesterday, Jamus FC delivered a dominant performance, defeating Salam Awil with a massive 7-0 victory. The win propels Jamus FC to the top of the league table with 38 points, while Salam Awil remains on 20 points. In another fixture, Olympic rank crushed Young Stars 6-0, boosting their tally to 11 points with one match still postponed. Olympics rank now shares the same point as Bentiu City and Yei Lion Hunters. Meanwhile, Young Stars stays at 10 points. In South Sudan Cup's SSD Cup in Zone A in Rumbek, Amal El Horeya FC, Kwajok 0-1, Anyanya 2 FC, Yorol. The aggregate is 2-1 in favor of Anyanya 2 FC. While in Zone B in Juba Al Marikh, Bentiu crushed Malikia FC, Torid 8-0 to make the results 13-1 in the aggregate. And finally, Luka Doncic scored 30 points as the Los Angeles Lakers dismantled their rivals, the Oklahoma City Thunder, 126-99. The Slovenian registers 7 rebounds and 6 assists alongside his 30 points. Hull has the third place Lakers overcame league-leading Thunder. The Lakers broke a franchise record by scoring 15 three-pointers during the first half to open up at 22 points led by halftime. Shooting guard Austin Rivers scored 20 points, while LeBron James added 19 of his own as the Lakers moved quickly to secure one of the 4 remaining automatic playoff spots. That's all in the world of sport, and now back to you, Baria Johnson.
Thank you, Nyadong William. This is iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again. The SPLMIO has suspended 4 senior members of its Political Bureau and Liberation Councils over an alleged plot to replace Dr. Riek Machar as first Vice President and Chairman of the party. A civil society activist is calling on the National Transitional Committee to initiate a dialogue among the parties to the revitalized peace agreement to diffuse and de-escalate the tension in the country. And the United States says it will reconsider revoking the cancellation of visas to South Sudanese citizens only when Juba fully cooperates and accepts the return of its deported nationals. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page, iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Baria Johnson. Thanks for listening.